Welcome to Better with Art. I'm Melinda, and I'm here to encourage you to reclaim your creativity and establish a healthy habit of creative self-care with weekly small art prompts that can be done in an art journal or on paper if you don't have one. If you caught last week's video, you may notice that this looks a little different than it did when we ended last week. Part of that is because there was still a lot of water on the page and the paint continued to react in it. But it's also because I spilled a glass of water and got this part wet again. And I thought about adding some more color over here, but then I decided to just let it be as it is. If you did not catch last week's video, you will want to go back and do part 1 of this project. As you can see, I have a pen. It's one of my water resistant ones that I got on sale on Amazon. I've tried out various types and have found some inexpensive ones that work quite well that I bought on sale. And as well as linking to various materials in the description, there will be a link to my brand new Amazon storefront that contains different materials I use for different type of projects, either on Better with Art or in my 100 collage papers and in other upcoming tutorials. So you can check that out. If you don't yet have an art journal, grab some cardstock or paper. For projects with watercolor and collage, you'll want to use cardstock because it's a little heavier, and a folder would be good because one of the benefits of an art journal is privacy. You can feel free to experiment and express yourself without concern for what others will think. If you are ready to invest in an art journal, I have my top recommendation in the description and yes, in my new Amazon storefront. So as you can see, I am using my pen to outline different areas. Well, right now I'm outlining the whole thing of my paint. I did have to peel off my border tape because of the water issue, especially since it was taped to my desk. So I probably would have had to remove it anyway because, well, I need my desk for other video filming between now and then and now. If you are following me as a result of my 100 collage papers and are interested in more Wednesday night videos with technique, I apologize that I am behind in starting something new because I've been having trouble with both time and energy and struggling with various technological difficulties that are just making it, well, difficult. But there are things in the works, and for those of you who are interested in learning more about my technique for the piece I recently shared that I entered into a local art show and competition and got second place in my category as an emerging artist. It was very similar to the technique I used. Well, it's basically the same technique I used earlier this year in a piece called Solace that sold at the Art Center's 6x6 fundraiser, community show and fundraiser. So I am working on a workshop, and I will be sharing soon details of how you can be among the first to know when it is available. So I sort of got fixated on the tracing of colors. But that is not all we can do with this. If you were around last year for the similar project during the 52-week art journal journey, you saw me being much more creative with this. Well, doing much more than tracing areas. I got a little fixated on that while I was talking, but that's okay. Basically, just draw on your painting from last week in whatever way feels interesting to you at the moment. As well as the workshop I'm putting together on that technique is, as well as being about technique, it's also an opportunity to be encouraged to, as I encourage you in Better with Art, to reclaim your creativity or claim it and use art making as creative self-care and embrace your identity as an artist, regardless of how you feel about your skill or your experience, or whether or not even you ever decide to share your art publicly. You can still be wired to be a visual artist and need to be making art to be your healthiest. So that will be another aspect of the workshop I'm creating. I have more in mind. And Seeking Solace is both about the titles of those two pieces and also the mental and emotional health benefits we can find in art making. I have other types of projects and themes rolling around in my mind. As I mentioned last week, I love being able to encourage people to take time for art, to make time, to be practicing, exercising their creativity in ways they enjoy and find meaningful. And I'm really excited to be finally officially working on some workshops. As before, we want to kind of ignore our tape, although drawing my circles all the way across it seems a bit excessive. I'm trying to follow this line. As I've mentioned, I've been rather busy and have been struggling with the tech, which is just one of those things. And I don't know what struggles you are facing this week. And maybe you're having one of those weeks where everything just seems to be working. And if so, that's great. But if not, well, even if it is, I'm glad you found your way here this week and are interested in practicing creative self-care through art making. I know I say it a lot, and I'm sure I'll share it many more times throughout the course of Better with Art, because there are always new people finding their way here, and because I know we can all use the reminder from time to time. Deciding to reclaim my creativity with the 100-Day Project in 2022 was transformative for me. I had pretty much given up my art making for years, even though I knew how good it was for my mental and emotional health. It always seemed there was something more important that I should be doing. And there are lots of important things we need to do with our time, that we have responsibilities. But taking time for art and using it for creative self-care, even when we don't realize that's what we're doing, is so good for our mental and emotional health. So, it's not a waste of time. Though it can be difficult to find the time, which is why we need to make the time, because our mental health, our emotional health are really important. And yes, it can come back to the whole oxygen mask in the airplane thing. When we are at our better, when we are taking the time to do healthy things that improve our mental and emotional health, we are better equipped to do all those other things. Better equipped to show up in others' lives the way we need to, the way we should. Relationships are hard. Whatever type they are, they can be hard. And when we are emotionally drained, we can't be who we want to be and how we interact with others. And doing all the things requires a lot of energy, physical, mental, and emotional. And you need to take care of yourself, especially if you struggle with depression or anxiety, or if you have just a lot on your plate, which how many of us don't in this day and age? So I just, for so long, could not rationalize taking the time to make art. It didn't matter that my mental health fell apart. It didn't matter that I was noticing what a difference at that time going to a drawing class at a local fine arts center, which is where my piece is currently on display, with my kids. Some evenings I would pull it together and get us out the door and to drawing class, and it made a huge difference. I had started going to that drawing class years before with a friend of mine. But yeah, life gets busy and other things can seem more important. I went through a very difficult mental health time when my kids were younger. And I knew. I saw. I felt the difference those art classes made. And yet I still usually refuse to make the art. But I had started making some art again, and I actually, at one point, used the 6x6 community show and fundraiser to motivate me to finish some pieces. And then, as I said, the 100-day project of 2022 came along at just the right moment. I had come a long way in my mental health journey by that point, but I still need to be someone who's consistently making art. It's just the way I'm wired. And if you're here, there's a good chance that's the way you're wired too. So I allowed it to be my reason, my excuse, my permission. I used it to give myself permission to make art every day for 100 days. And I haven't really looked back since then. And because it had done so much for me, I started the 52-week art journal journey on January 1st of 23 and continued a similar format into this year, but without a particular end date. Like, that was 52 weeks. That was to encourage people, look, I'm not asking you to make art every day. I'm showing up every week with a simple art prompt. At that point, I was including writing prompts in my videos, which I was trying to keep up with a weekly email with that, but lately I've been falling down on that. But while I am on that subject, you can sign up for my emails, which are not going out every week right now. But with that, you will also receive a link to join the small but growing, private, and very encouraging Better With Art Facebook group. If you would like a place to share what you're working on with other people on this journey, be encouraged, encourage others to be taking time for creative self-care, I would love to have you there. And I completely lost where I was going before that. Suffice it to say, taking time for art is worth your time. It's worth the effort. And a project like this can be much quicker if you need it to be. Or you can keep doodling. And you can also set it aside and come back to it, which is actually what I'm going to have to do now, because I need to go to work. Yes, I would at some point like to be able to quit my part-time job and do this art stuff full-time. The art making, some art selling, workshops, classes. One of my, the favorite part of my job at the moment is the art groups and projects I have been able to add to our programming. I don't feel that my art is done, and as I've mentioned before, I get very distracted now when I am trying to talk. Well, not very distracted, but things aren't, I don't necessarily make things the same way I would if I was just making the art. And that's okay, especially if it encourages you to just make the art. But I really do prefer the way this project went last year. Either way, I am going to have to set this aside for now and tonight after work, because as I'm filming this, it is Thursday morning. I work Thursdays and Fridays and 2 out of every 3 Saturdays. But on Saturdays, it's only 10 to 1 or 2 if we have a staff meeting. Thursdays and Fridays, it's 10 to 6. And I'm rambling. And for you, it will be as if I never stopped. But for me, it will be hours. Okay, friends. It is actually 2 days later. It is now Saturday, and that's okay. I'm feeling like that should be another name or the common phrase. It's the oft repeated, that's okay. I finally got an email out to my lovely email friends. And for those of you interested in the workshop with my transparent layers, Seeking Solace is now more officially in the works, named for the 2 pieces I've shared with you that use that technique. Solace, which is currently in the show, my 2nd place winner, and sorry, take that back. Seek is the current one. Solace is the 6x6 that sold at the 6x6 fundraiser show earlier this year. And I don't know if I've already talked about this during this video, but regardless, I will soon be letting everyone know when early registration will open. And yes, Seeking Solace. An invitation to not only learn some technique from me, but also affirmation of yourself, your identity as an artist. Encouragement to embrace that. All right, friends, I am going to have fun keeping on working on this, I think, but as I am out of time. Let's hope for a good, satisfying tape pull to watch. Oh no. Oh, we're okay. That was really a raggedy end. I need to get myself to work. So, last year, the phrase that was written in our 3 areas reserved for our words was make the art. This year, is another reminder. Because we truly are, well, running out of space, but that's okay. The reason I do what I do. Not written the best, and I'll take some time to fill things in. But for now, I again will say goodbye, and I will head to my 3-hour Saturday. I hope to get to a park this afternoon, but we'll see. If I do, I will share some of that. Or at least that's the intent. I could just, enjoy myself enough that I don't take pictures or video. Wherever you are and whatever you are doing when you watch this video, I hope you find a blessing in it and accept the reminder and the truth, the reality that we are better with art.